Happy New Year's, y'all. 2 weeks late about that. The reason I say Happy New Year's is because it reminds me that by the grace of freaking God and friends He's put in my life, that I have gone 7 years and 2 weeks now without watching pornography, which is crazy. If you talk to my 17-year-old self, you would think it's not even possible. And it is. So I'm thankful for that, and I want to talk about it a little bit. Some of the negatives, and obviously on the other side of not watching it for so long, some of the positives. So, first off, I'm not sure when I even got... Do we even want to hear the backstory? I guess a little bit. I'm not even sure when I was shown it, but it was most likely at some sort of sleepover. And from then, that point on, probably 11, 12, 13, I'm not sure, I was freaking addicted as much as I could be. And I'm not sure if I fully knew what was happening to me at that point, but I knew some part of me liked it and was encouraged to do it, and maybe not many people encouraged me to do the opposite. And I didn't notice a ton of ill effects, maybe besides I was more irritable and definitely didn't want other people around when I was watching it, besides maybe sometimes at the sleepover or whatever where I was watching. But I honestly can't remember that much. I'm just talking from probably some logical kind of memories. But ever since then, it was full-on addiction, where a lot of it was like, I don't even want to be having these thoughts. I don't want to be fully wanting to watch this right now or anything, but I was like, I got to. I'm freaking addicted. And I didn't really like it, but the older I got, and maybe 18, 19, when I started to really get to know who God was and how much He loved me, and that God isn't really about the pornography life and objectifying every human being, because at that point, it was so against my will, I almost was objectifying and sexualizing against my will most situations and interactions, where it was hard to get away from that without it attacking and like taking over my head many times a day. So some of the reasons why I even quit was, obviously God sees people with so much value. So for me to be sexualizing everything all the time, it just flew right in the face of that. And I was like, I want to be like a good man that like is a blessing to this world and people and God. So if I was to be followed around with a camera, I want people to see like, hey, he's really trying, and he doesn't have like tons of weirdness in the closet that he's fully engaged in, and then he puts on a different face in public. So I was like, I really want that if someone were to follow me around, just like God sees me wherever I go, and He knows far deeper beyond our motives, so He sees past that, and He loves us even frickin' past it, which I don't even know how He does. But that was having an effect on me, and I knew I needed friends to help encourage me and direct me the opposite way, and to stop watching things that got me into that were just kind of pornographic, like shows or YouTube videos that were suggestive, not just pornography. I was being encouraged to be like, you kind of got to turn a different way and live your life a different way. And I was game for that, especially hearing other guys before me when I was younger being like, yeah, I've gone like 3 years without watching. And I'm like, what? How is that possible? I didn't even know 2 days or 3 days or something like that. It seemed like an eternity, and was like, holy respect, bro, that you did that. So I was encouraged, and I was shown a different path, and I wanted that. So within the first weeks or couple weeks, I feel like I did fully go through a withdrawal. I mean, I was pacing, almost feeling physical pain, trying to resist the like addictive process of like, I'm not gonna do it, but I really want to, but I'm not gonna do it. And I was like in pain one night. I remember I was in literal pain. So it's got to be some sort of intense withdrawal process. And I don't know if it fully has to be like that, But through God's encouragement and friends' encouragement, I was able to just go multiple times, maybe fall, but get right back on the horse, metaphorically. And over time, months built up. Maybe I'd fall back 6 months, then maybe fall a year one time, and then just finally went multiple years. And now, by the grace of God, it's been 7 years. And now, being alone, it used to be a terrible thing for me at home, because then I'd be like, frick, I'm not safe being alone because this sexual thoughts would attack me. Now, I'm alone now, and I forget after 7 years, and it can even start before then, maybe at 6 months, but you start to forget that pornography is even an option to watch. And I think that's just such an encouraging thing to hear when I was told that years ago. And now, hopefully, it encourages you. But all it goes to say is that living a life fully in pornography and what it was about, and no shame to the people who do it, because I think God totally loves them, aside from the actions that he doesn't love, of like making or creating pornography. And us who either used to consume it or still do, there's grace for that. Your mess ups or shortcomings do not define who you are, and especially if you want to be different. God sees that big time, and I think he saw that in me and worked with it, and he can certainly do that for you. So the main thing is just being in that life before was so toxic, but there was a part of it that was easier, and now there was a part of it that was a little harder to quit, but life is so much better. So it's a weird paradigm. I almost had it easier, yet harder. And now I almost have it, at least in the quitting stage, it was harder, yet life was better. And now there's some point where you just forget that pornography is even an option. And it's like that harder part of life of resisting kind of goes away. And it's just like, wow, like I'm free to think a lot of my own thoughts, just because I think there can be a lot of spiritual, bad, demonic influence that I feel like I felt, and getting free of that just freed me up to be a lot more of who I maybe am, or who God created me to be, and just to be able to look myself in the mirror and to be able to have like be who I want to be to a degree, or grow in that way. I'm just so thankful at the change, so freaking thankful. So I hope it encourages you. Sorry, I probably rambled a little longer, but I don't know. I just kind of went for it and didn't have a linear story, and I have nothing written on the window behind. So yeah, hope it encourages you. Happy New Year, and I'll keep reading the Bible.